I know a lot of you are interested in solo travel life, and I've talked a lot about all the wonderful things that come from solo traveling. First of all the wonderful things that come from traveling in general, and then being a solo traveler. Whether it's the personal growth, the self awareness, the confidence, the social skills, the resourcefulness, tying that all together, and then maybe bringing that back into your personal life or professional life. Traveling, I think, is one of the best things you can do for growth, and I think solo traveling puts you at the forefront of that growth. So I talked a lot about why it's amazing, but today I'm going to give you the counter argument because I think a lot of people cover these up. Traveling can be very, very stressful, and I think a lot of people don't talk about it because they want to portray it primarily on social media as being 100% glamorous because I think that attracts more attention. But there are some things about traveling and solo traveling that are kind of dark and that are just plain negatives. And today I'm going to talk about 6 things that are really detrimental to yourself when you're solo traveling. Number one, you're on the opposite wavelength of 99.99% of the population. Okay, solo travelers are rare. You might follow a lot of solo travelers on Instagram or YouTube or bloggers, but if you walk into a room of 1,000 people, you might find one solo traveler, maybe. Okay, so like in the grand scope of the world population, solo travelers are rare. And for that reason, it's just a different lifestyle. I'll talk about a little bit more of that down the road, but you have to understand that you're just pretty much opposite of everyone else. And that can kind of affect your mentality a little bit because everyone else is going home to their life, and your life is living out of a suitcase. Your life is living in airplanes. Your life is living in airports. And it's very interesting. Okay, it's atypical, that's for sure. It's completely abnormal. And sometimes the grass can be greener. Sometimes you might be like, well, I want a comfortable bed. I want a set schedule. I want to be able to go to the yoga class every morning at 8 a.m. Or I wish I had a 9-to-5 job. You are completely opposite than 99.9% of the population, and that can kind of weigh on you sometimes psychologically. So that's the first reason. Number 2, it is expensive. Travel is expensive in general. It has to be one of the most expensive hobbies there is. And solo traveling takes it to the next level because you're not splitting costs with anybody. Now, the way I solo travel is pretty expensive because I tend to focus on more higher end places, venues, hotels, properties. But even if you want to do hostels and kind of more grassroots type traveling stuff, there's still no one to split costs with. Okay, you're coming straight out of pocket for everything. There is no splitting meals with anyone to save costs. There's no splitting hotel rooms with anyone to save costs. There's no splitting laundry expenses or whatever else there might be. There's just no splitting costs, period. The onus of finances is completely on you. You're basically carrying the entire load. So that's the second reason. Solo traveling is expensive. Travel is expensive in general. Solo traveling takes it to the extreme. Number 3, lack of empathy. This kind of ties back to the first one. No one really gets you because it's such a rare lifestyle. Okay, what you're doing is so opposite of what everyone else is. It's really hard for them to understand you. So if you want to connect with someone, or if you're just looking for someone to kind of see the same paradigms and mentalities that you do, it's tough because they really can't insert themselves in your shoes. They can listen, and they might have some sympathy, and they might have a little bit of understanding, but it's not complete empathy because they've never been there. They don't know what it's like, to jump planes from country to country or to switch hotels every couple of days or to ping pong across the world. They just don't know what that is like, to go out solo all the time and what that can kind of do possibly to your psychology or just being alone quite a bit. People just don't live this type of lifestyle, and for that reason, they just can't really relate to you. They really don't identify well. They might like you. You might be able to develop a relationship, but that core empathy, that deep, deep understanding, that relatability isn't there. I think a good example of this, it's not my favorite example, but I think it's one that you can maybe understand, is I think it's why celebrities date other celebrities. Because the lifestyle is so wacky. It's so weird. It's so unusual. You almost need to date someone in your cohort, someone kind of in your circle, or at least in the same type of occupations, because they are the only ones who can really understand it and understand you and what you're going through. So it's kind of the same type of thing with solo traveling. People are fascinated by it. People want to hear about it. But that empathy just is rarely there. Number 4 is stress. And solo traveling is one of the most stressful things I've ever done. I've worked at a management role at a Fortune 500 company. I've had a lot of successes academically. I've had a lot of successes personally. My point is that solo traveling is one of the most stressful things I've ever done, and the reason because it's all on you. Okay, if you go to the bathroom, you can't have anyone watch your drink. If you come back, you wonder if something happened to your drink. You got to always take your backpack with you. No one's there to watch your luggage at the airport if you want to go to the bathroom. If your alarm doesn't go off, there's no one there to set the other alarm to help you catch that flight. There's no one there to help you navigate directions. There's no one there to help you maybe navigate a language. There's no one there, period. All the bookings are on you. Everything is on you. And after a while, you just become acclimated to it and accustomed to it. But still, when traveling with others, I am relieved at how less stressful it is. I'm relieved that I have someone to help kind of carry the load and carry some of the burden that kind of comes with traveling. So number 4, it's entirely stressful. Number 5, relationships. I think this one you knew was coming. It kind of relates back to the first one where 99.99% of people are in a different lifestyle. You know, you might meet someone at Mandalay Bay. You might meet someone in Miami. You might meet someone up in Vancouver. They're vacationing. You're vacationing, right? Especially when you go to these resorts like I do. You know, like I'm hanging out at hotels. People don't live at hotels. People are visiting hotels. So, you know, they're typically going back home to somewhere else and you're going back home somewhere else. But the difference is they're going back home to a stable life. And you're kind of ping-ponging all over the world. And that could be even harder. I think if you have a stable life, it's a little easier to maintain relationships as opposed to having instability where you are just kind of always in different places at different times. There's really no predictability. So yeah, relationships can be difficult. Now you can manage them. I think a lot of it depends on your schedule and of course finances. If you have the money, you can fly and see certain people. And if you have the time, you can hang out with those people more often. But still, relationships are tough to cultivate and it can be frustrating. In fact, it's kind of ironic because you're going to meet the coolest people traveling. You're going to meet the coolest people because they're like-minded. You're finding them at your favorite restaurants. They're at their favorite restaurant. You're at your favorite restaurant. You're sitting next to each other. You have that in common. You're going to meet some of the best people traveling. But the ironic thing is you really can't connect with them because they're going back home 2,000 miles away, 4,000 miles away to a different city and a different life. So relationships, whether that be friendships or romantic, can really be difficult depending on your resources and finances. And the last one is a bit more profound, but I think it's important. You know, a lot of the most beautiful things about traveling is experiencing with someone else and then sharing those memories. Connecting with someone at the Eiffel Tower, right? Holding hands with someone in Venice. You know, walking that sunset with someone. You know, maybe it's a group of guys getting together for the 40th or a bachelor party or whatever it is. Whether it be socially, romantically, or even professionally. Some of my favorite trips were professionally. When we would fly down for a conference or a convention or a trade show, some of those were amazing as well. It's sharing those experiences and also having people with you to share those experiences with, just having a body with you to kind of help you with some of the other things I talked about in this video. And the flip side of that is what I've talked about, is that it's all about creating memories for yourself. It's all about making you happier and you grow. But I think a benefit is that when you can share them with someone else, because I do think it can make them a lot more special at times. I just want to peel back the curtain for you a little bit. I know a lot of you are interested in lifestyle, and believe me, the benefits far outweigh the detriments. The positives far outweigh the negatives. But a lot of you have asked about it, and I don't think a lot of people talk about these because, again, I think people want to portray the glamour and the marvel and the allure of traveling. Even when things are bad behind the scenes, I think sometimes people put on a smiley face or, you know, will give you fantastic images to portray something different for likes or whatever else. And I'm telling you, like, there are some things of travel that just aren't the best at times. And if you do want to be a solo traveler, these are some things you're going to have to deal with. If you are a solo traveler, hit me up in the comments. Let me know what you think. Let me know if I missed anything. And if you want to get profound, let me know how you deal with some of these things. For me, I deal with these by just focusing on the positives. Like I said, if it's 90% awesome and 10% bad, that's a great ratio. If it's 80% awesome and 20% bad, that's a great ratio. So I take a kind of look at the greater good, the greater impact, and kind of what it's done for my life. But I would be remiss if I did not point out some of these drawbacks. So that is it for this video. This is day number 24 in Las Vegas. Not a lot of Las Vegas talk today. I'll hit you tomorrow with a video and give you an update.